Welcome to UFOs Over Pittsburgh. I'm your host, John Ventry. I'm the Pennsylvania State Director for the Mutual UFO Network. Our co-host is Fred Saluger, and our guest today is Rhonda Vari. And today's episode is on UFOs and Demons in this special two-part episode of UFOs Over Pittsburgh. All right, Fred, Rhonda, we want to continue our discussion on UFOs and the demonic, fallen angels, aliens. What are they really? You know, the last two episodes we had former County Commissioner Bob Cranmer on, and he spoke about the Demon of Brownsville Road and what happened with him. And I spoke a little bit about one incident that happened with me, but there is an absolute overlap in this UFO, alien, and demonic field. And what we're doing is I put together a presentation that I'm going to do at the Erie UFO Conference on April 30th. And that agenda includes Stan Gordon, who's going to talk about Kecksburg, Reverend Swope and yourself talking about the Prescow Island 50th anniversary. It's 50th on both. But then what we're doing is I'm giving a presentation on my haunted paranormal experiences. Nick Redfern is giving a presentation on the Collins Elite, a branch of the CIA that originally investigated paranormal and UFOs and concluded there are no UFOs. It's only demonic paranormal activity. So I want to hear what he says. Then the last part of that is going to be Dr. David Jacobs talking about the alien abductions and the hybrid program, and he says it's all completely aliens. I don't think he believes the demonic paranormal side at all. So I think it'd be really interesting for the people, though, because they're going to sit there and see this progression, and then what is it? And that's April 30th at the Bayfront Convention Center on Lake Erie, and people can register at mufonpa.com. But you know, I've spent almost 2 years now researching the paranormal, the abductions, etc. And you know how people say, well, surveys, 14% of people have seen a UFO, about 2.5% to 3% of people think they've been abducted. So I looked into the paranormal side. 30% of people have had a paranormal experience. So it's almost 1 out of 3. You know, with UFOs, it's more like 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7 has had a UFO experience. So more people have had bumps in the night and ghostly stuff than UFOs. There's also a reason.
But also, John, I think on that too, a lot of the people that have UFO sightings see the ghostly figures. They believe that they're alien, whereas they're not really alien, because I believe that ghosts and aliens are one and the same. You know, like you say.
Yeah, so, well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Is there a distinction between the two? And this may take us another 2 or 3 episodes to get through this, because there's a lot we're going to talk about. Are they separate but equal, or is it all the same thing? I do think that we're dealing with 2 things here. I think there's a huge overlap, and I think people are clueless as to which is which. They call it one, but it may be the other. But, you know, we've been drawn to this, Fred. You know, like, I shouldn't be doing this. You know, I kind of got pulled into it. You know, you're drawn into it. And I think I was drawn into it because of my earlier paranormal experiences. I've never seen a UFO. I had no interest in UFOs.
Well, you know, you're talking there real quick. I got involved in this, like I say, back in the 70s. Why I was really interested, I have no idea. When I moved back from Florida, I think I told you about I ran into a lady that used to live by me. And she said, now that all your relatives are dead, I can tell you. I said, tell me what? And she says, looked at my hat. She said, when you was 4 years old, you was abducted.
Wow.
And she said, you was actually gone for 4 hours. She said, the police was up there, everybody was up there, blah, blah, blah. And I laughed at her. I said, yeah, sure, you just. She said, my brother's seen it too. She says, I'll tell him to tell you. Right then, as coincidence have it, he called. And he told me the same exact story.
Ah.
And now, still till today, I have episodes like I showed you. I had that P written on my leg.
Yeah.
I mean, I wake up with like a marks. I got marks on me where they can't be coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I asked the doctor, well, that's just a blood thing broke. Well, I mean, how did they break? I mean, really.
What caused it?
Yeah. I mean, so
well,
I
you've got
think,
a legitimate reason why you're involved in this.
Yeah, I really believe that it has something to do with that.
Yeah, I think mine came from more of the paranormal end than anything else. And I know you've always been very religious, but your experiences have come from the paranormal side, right?
Yes.
So
The more religious you get, the more you talk to God and pray to God, the more experiences you have with demons, because then they become your enemy.
well, they target two types of people.
Right.
The ones that are very easy to go to the dark side because they need their legion, and then they target the people that are good. And see, I think like your soul, I think they see in a different wavelength. They're invisible, but they can see the amount of light you give off, and they can tell, burning bright, dull, duller, dullest, almost out. They take that end, they take this end of the spectrum, or they attack the good people to try to turn them or hurt them. And it's amazing, the books I've read, the things that they're able to do. And people just they're not aware of it, So what I did was, I did a lot of research, a number of books, Malachi Martin, Ralph Sarchi. I mean, here's the book by your buddy, Joe Jordan. This is the one he wrote on alien abduction, and he concluded they're not aliens.
Right.
So very interesting stuff. So we got to talk through it. But there are things that people get wrong in their knowledge. For example, there's three types of entities on the evil side, let's say. We're not talking about aliens right now. You have ghosts, right?
Right.
A ghost is a human spirit. A ghost was a person at one time. It's a human spirit. They have some sort of unfinished business, like they died suddenly, they want to see their kids, they haven't moved on yet. They lost a loved one, and here's something I found out. If a ghost is making noises in your house and stuff like that, you can't get a priest or an exorcist, you cannot exorcise a ghost out of your house. A ghost can stay there forever. A ghost has free will because they're a human spirit. They're not demonic. So you really may not be able to get rid of a ghost. If the ghost wants to rattle things and make noises all night and footsteps, you might be stuck with that, But so you may have to live with a ghost. You can only tell them to go to the light. If they don't want to, they have free will, all right? But then there's a difference. There are elementals.
Right.
You've probably heard that word, an elemental. I don't think most people know what it is. An elemental is a spirit, but from nature or from animals.
Right.
Has nothing to do with humans. So ghosts are human spirits. Elementals are from nature or animals. White witches and Wiccans, they'll call upon powers from elementals, from nature and stuff.
Like little fairies and that.
Yeah.
Leprechauns.
They'll call, and just, the god of air, of light, of earth, Gaia, Mother Nature, that type of stuff. But then you get to the third type, and that's an inhuman spirit. Ghosts are human spirits. Your inhuman spirits are angels and demons because they've never lived in a human body. So they're inhuman, and they could be the good or the bad. So it's an angel or a fallen angel. And black witches call upon inhuman demonic spirits. And these type of spirits cannot materialize as full human beings. When they appear, when they materialize, they're usually missing. If you think about some of the ghost movies and scary movies you've ever seen, they're missing their legs, they won't have arms,
Right.
you only see the head, the upper torso, the bust, whatever. They don't materialize 100% as a human. But, so that's the three types. But you talk about these inhuman spirits, which are fallen angels and the demonic, you're really only talking about the bottom layer.
Right.
Because there's 9 levels, and we'll get to that. But before we get to the different levels, those are the worker bees of demons. There's nine layers. The bottom level is the ones that harass you. What I want to do next, and this will involve both of you, I took a lot of time from the books I've read, and I created something called the signs of the demonic and the signs of alien abduction. So is there an overlap? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read each one. I'll tell you if it happened to me, and I'll tell you if it's something that's UFO or demonic or both. And if it's happened to you, just quickly tell us what happened. And this may take the whole rest of the show just doing this. And we'll get, in the second part of the show, we'll get to more. And in maybe another third episode, we'll get to my particular experiences. And then I got a bunch of things that just recently happened. People I've spoken to, met with. I can't believe how prevalent this is. Just like the UFOs, when you give a lecture, they come up to you at the end and say, let me tell you what happened. Well, I've been talking about this now, demonology, and I got all these people coming forward, and it's a lot of people. So here are the signs, and this is where you have this overlap, and this is something you mentioned, you know, when you brought it, we were talking about abductions. There are things that happen on both ends, right? Okay, this has happened to me. The room or you get very cold, temperature change.
Chills.
Yes.
All the way around your head, down your spine, your arms, and you feel a very evil, scary presence immediately.
Absolutely. I had the cold. I'm not going to talk about mine yet. We're going to save that.
I agree there. I felt the same thing you did, but I don't really feel an evil presence. I feel a presence, but I don't know. I can't really say it's evil.
Well, it's not good.
Well, no, but I mean, it isn't really.
Because
I can't say evil.
It's an evil presence, because a good presence, you don't get the chills. You feel a peace and a happiness, and that you're like in
the presence of
in
God.
the presence of God, you can feel like a light around you. Whereas when the chills come around you, it's not like you're feeling chilled. It's that the hair starts standing up.
And you get that down
And
your spine, down your back.
And you feel a presence,
had
and
it.
you know immediately you have to get rid of it. And so then you start quoting your scriptures, or just say, get out of here in the name of Jesus,
Always
right away.
in the name, not
Yeah.
yourself.
Right,
If
in
you
the name.
say it yourself, you're challenging them.
And you have to be firm about it. You can't be nice, because this is an invader. And if an invader's coming into your house, you're not going to be nice. You have to be mean about it.
Yeah, very firm.
Because they think that you're not really serious. So you want them to know you're
Can you really
serious.
be mean, Rhonda?
Yeah, I can be mean when I have to. And actually, that's the only time I really am mean.
She puts her school teacher hat on and takes out the ruler.
That's it, man. I really come down with firmness then. But most of the time, you know, I pick my battles, so I don't
okay.
get too
All right,
upset about things.
The second one, and we got about 50 of them here, is you see white smoke or you see a white orb. That happens in both demonic and UFO, especially
Right,
the orb.
right, and Bigfoot.
And Bigfoot, okay. With paranormal, we'll say, so that could fall both ways. And I've seen the white smoke, not the orb. All right? Something is written, and it's written backwards. That's demonic. I've never seen that, and it's never happened in UFO type cases. Something is poking you like a needle or something where they poke
I've had
you.
that happen.
I've had that. You've had that. That's demonic. Okay, you see a hairy creature. Now that has shown up in demonic and UFO.
Right.
Bigfoot, UFO cases, and the demonic, and I've had that happen. So has my son. Okay. Scratched or bitten.
Well, getting back to the last one you said.
The
okay?
hairy creature, get.
Okay, a lot of them, when they're there, you smell sulfur, so to
Sulfur.
speak. You know, and again, where's sulfur come from? I
Hell.
mean, yeah, you're looking at that. So I mean, a lot of your Bigfoot sightings, you smell sulfur. A lot of your UFO sightings, you smell sulfur.
Yeah.
So, you know, Bigfoot, I think, is, you know, part of the UFO culture myself. I think he's interdimensional. He can travel back and forth. Also, the red eyes.
Right.
I mean, the eyes glow. And I mean, you don't have any other animals that do that.
Very
So,
few, if there
right.
are. The chupacabra, which, you know, they'd say
Right.
has red
Right.
eyes. And I think there might be bats and maybe an owl. There are some that have the red eyes, but not a whole lot. You're talking
Right.
3, you know. So being scratched a bit, and you've seen that on ghost shows
Right,
where the person gets scratched, bite marks on them, that type of thing. That falls into the demonic end. All right, difficulty breathing, pressure on your chest,
I've had that.
paralysis while awake, not where you're coming out of a sleep, while awake, paralysis while awake, something slipping in and out of you or coming back. My daughter's had all of these happen to her, and we'll talk about that later. And you've had that. That can
Shadow
be
people.
yeah,
in
with
the
the shadow
bedroom.
people. That can be either demonic or UFOs. Comes up in both cases.
Right.
Speaking in languages or a guttural, deep voice. Speaking in languages you don't know, Latin, Greek,
Not me.
you know, that falls into the demonic. And I've never seen that in UFO cases.
I haven't either.
You know, vivid dreams or waking up drenched in sweat.
I've had
Lucid dream, vivid
yeah.
dreams. I've had that happen. That can be either. That can be UFO or demonic. Your pet, especially dogs, becoming very agitated or provoked.
Well, I got a cat that does the same thing.
Okay, you got a cat that
Yeah,
does that.
yeah.
And your dog.
My dog, absolutely. And we'll talk about that later. And those cases in Bucks County,
Right.
both Denise and Cliff were waken up by their dog at around 4 in the morning barking.
Right.
So that happens in both UFO and demonic cases. Birds striking your window or birds singing at night. Birds don't sing at night.
Right.
So if you got birds outside your window singing, that falls into the demonic side.
Well, I can remember growing up that if a bird hit the window, somebody died.
Yeah, that was the thing people would say.
Yeah, and they did. A lot of times
Yeah.
they did die. Somebody you know died
Yeah.
within the next couple of days.
Right now, if you come to my house, there's a family of cardinals constantly as soon as the sun comes up, they're hitting the windows.
I have seen that.
Yeah, even my car.
Hard to believe.
I pulled my car out in the driveway before you came over to ride over with me. There's it's on my car window, hitting the window. I never say anything. This started about 18 months ago
Oh, really?
when my demonic stuff started. The bird thing started. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to talk about my stuff quite yet. In threes, you get 3 knocks, 3 footsteps, or that happens 3 times, but it's always in sets of 3s. I've had that happen, and that falls into the paranormal.
Well, what about the death? I mean, a lot of people, when somebody dies, there's always 3. They come in 3s.
deaths in 3s.
Yeah, like in a patch or you got, say, movie stars and that. It's always 3.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, or there'll be like 3 knocks, but it happened 3 times. 3 knocks, 3 knocks, 3 knocks, and that's all done to mimic Jesus, because he died at 3 p.m.
Yeah, right.
So it's the 3 a.m. or 3s, or to mimic the Holy Trinity, which is 3. They have their demonic Trinity, which people think Lucifer and Satan are the same. I've read some books where they're separate. Lucifer fell, became Satan, but they're 2 beings, like you have God and the Holy Spirit, right? So you have, and then you have Jesus and the Antichrist. So that's one holy, and that's the unholy.
Right.
You have 3, Father, Son, and Ghost, and you have Lucifer, Satan, Antichrist. But it's done in 3s, and it's amazing that when this stuff started for me, not started, but picked up in Oklahoma, 3 footsteps, 3 times, got louder each time in 1990 when things started to get out of control. Waking up between 3 and 4 a.m. That's happened to me a lot.
Me too.
I used to never wake up in the middle of the night. Now I wake up all the time, and I look at the clock, usually between 3 and 3:30. It's exactly 3. or even 333, which is half of 666.
Right.
It's right there. And that falls into both sides. And that's why I question the UFO side with the abduction. Why do they got to wait till 3 to 4 a.m.? You know, why isn't it just 11 p.m.? You know,
Nobody out that time, John.
well, but in your bedroom, why in that deep sleep at 3 to 4
Well, again, but
a.m.?
if you're looking at the 3 o'clock, like you said earlier, you're doing the exact opposite of when Christ died on the cross.
Yeah.
3 o'clock is when the witching hour really is.
Yeah, it's not midnight.
No.
It's not.
No,
It's
it's 3
3.
o'clock.
It's 3
3
to
a.m.,
4.
yeah.
3 a.m. because it's the opposite
Right.
of Jesus Christ dying at 3 p.m. So I just lost my screen. Okay. Hearing a baby cry, like being in the house and hearing a baby crying upstairs.
I never.
This has happened. My daughter and other people in my house. They'll hear a baby crying upstairs. Tapping or scratching on a wall or ceiling. Tapping noises, scratching, you know, that's demonic. I've had that happen. The waking up, the hearing the baby cry is on the demonic. It's not UFO. Feeling you're being watched, another presence around.
Right.
That can be either demonic or UFO. We see that in both cases. I've had that happen. Black or a shadow person or a smoky type black figure.
I've had shadow people.
Yeah, I've had a couple.
The whole room was filled with them, and they're very tall. I'd say 7 feet tall.
And that's what you
And
read a lot, is
very
7 feet.
frightening.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't go away because at that time I was too young to understand what weapons to use, and that you were supposed to use scripture verses and call upon Jesus. I was too young at the time. Finally, somebody in my college class, undergraduate, told me exactly what to do. He was a minister. So they left. But it's still a continual battle till this day, from the time I was in my early 20s. However, not as bad,
Yeah.
because they
But-
know I'm won over to the good side.
Yeah, like you're saying there too, though, about that. Okay, now, how many times we would get UFO reports where these people had hoods on, the aliens had hoods on?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you know,
The
we
early
just- yeah.
cases used to be a hooded figure
Right, right,
It's a
right.
hooded
with
figure.
a UFO. That
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
And we got one about 2 years ago down in Bell Vernon where a hooded figure was actually floating
Yep.
across the wall.
Well, didn't even down in West Virginia, not the Mothman, but the other case, Flatwoods.
Flatwood, yeah.
He was floating in the air, but they kind of said he was maybe standing in something. Wasn't that a hooded person? He had a hood on also.
They say
in
it
the-
was actually a reptilian.
Yeah, but it was a hooded person
yeah, it was
in that.
yeah, what you're seeing isn't really what
And
it
you had the
was.
sulfur smell with that
Right,
too.
right.
They said it was a sulfur smell with it. I tell you, there's such an overlap between these two, but yet, you know, it's like when you talk about ghosts, you talk about Bigfoot, you talk about demons, you talk about Jesus, you talk about UFOs. Everybody says, no, it's this and not the others. And there's the fight, the battle starts.
Well, I think everybody wants to be the boss with
And
that.
it's all
though.
overlapping.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think when you get involved in this stuff, everybody wants to be an expert.
Yeah.
You know, and there is no experts. I mean,
They-
we're all working on it, but
Yeah.
everybody
Right.
thinks they're one.
We're all participating in contributing a part of the truth.
Right.
Everybody has some truth to offer.
Right.
And that's the way you have to look at it.
And I've also noticed when you deal with people in other fields, they want to be they think they're going to be the one who comes forward
Right.
and is on Anderson Cooper with the proof that they broke it. But who's the only one here that's been on Anderson Cooper?
You.
I have. April of 2012. 45 minutes.
And then they took you off.
And then they ushered me out with one of those big hooks. No, but we're all working on this thing and trying to figure out what it is. Get this, I read this too. You know, Larry Arnold does those presentations on spontaneous
Human
combustion,
combustion, yeah.
spontaneous human combustion. I read that falls into the demonic end. That like that heat and the buildup and all of a sudden person bursting in flames. That's demonic. That's not UFO at all. That's demonic. Loss of time or memory loss. Not at your age, not at our age. But loss of time or memory, that can be demonic or UFOs.
Yeah.
That people who get involved with demonic cases lose time and memory. They can be frozen too, where you awake and you can't wake them up, you know? That falls into both. Someone standing at the foot of your bed. It could be a shadow person or a person that looks like a person. That falls into both. I've had that happen.
It's one way of losing weight very quickly.
Yeah, well,
The
stress
following morning, I woke up 5 pounds thinner.
over one night.
Yes.
That must have been tremendous stress and anxiety.
Horrible.
Overnight.
Yes.
Were you
Fright.
sweating at that time?
Sweating, chills, didn't know what to do. My father was in another part of the house, but I didn't dare tell him. I didn't get any relief from this until I went to class on Monday morning at Pitt, and then there was a minister sitting in front of me. He told me what to do.
Yeah. I mean, I had
But they're battling for your soul, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
I
but
had
now-
the sweating and the lucid dreams, you know.
But now they're saying that the aliens want your soul.
Well, see, that's
So now
Whitley
we're,
Strieber says that.
yeah.
He felt that they were there for his soul. So does that make him alien?
I got two UFO reports in the last year. The one, the lady said they're here right now. They come to get my soul, and another one told me the same thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Well, I hope you took a stand on what side you're going to be on.
You see how I
Yeah,
told you?
Yeah.
See how I told you this is going to take up episode 1? We're almost out of time, so let me give you a few
real
more.
quick, though,
Tell this and then we'll
I told
continue.
the one lady, I said, she says, they're here right now, Mr. Saluga. And I said, if they're here right now, I want you to tell them I want to talk to them. And she said something, she says, he wants to talk to you. And I swear to God, I heard, and she said, they said that when they talk to you, they own you. They will take care of you, and you'll never be the same.
And you can't start that conversation because then you invited them in.
Right.
So let's just remind everybody,
Okay.
this is the end of part 1 of this episode. There will be part 2, part 3, and part 4, even though we already did 2 parts with Bob Cranmer.
Right.
And stay tuned for the next episode, and we're going to continue. That's our show for this week. Be sure to look for our next episode and visit www.mufonpa.com for more information. Well, welcome to part 2 of our 3 or 4-part session, because you know how this goes. This is so much to talk about. So where we left off with these signs of the demonic and signs of an alien abduction, there's still probably 10 or 12 more. One was, I think we may have mentioned this, someone standing at the foot of your bed,
Right.
revolting smells, flies in the house, targeting one person in the family. That happens in both demonic. They'll pick one person. When they move from the into the infestation part, they target family members. But initially it's one person. Same thing with UFOs. It's the one person for the abduction, and sometimes you find out then it's the whole family. Any sort of pounding, loud booms and banging kind of shake the whole house. I've had that happen. That falls under both. Large objects that are moved or damaged or broken. That tends to be only the demonic, not in the alien abduction. You don't
I've
have
had that
pictures
happen.
flying around,
Yeah.
refrigerators moving.
And
Well,
that
you-
happened to St. John Vianney,
Who's
the
that?
curé of ours.
Okay.
He's well known for his bed levitating off the ground and objects flying all over the room. And that's been documented in history.
Yeah.
So that name would be St. John Vianney, or the curé of ours, if you care to look it up.
Well, you have the same thing with poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's why it
stuff-
falls under the whole ghost
Yeah.
paranormal
Right.
side, not UFOs. I've never seen a case where things start flying around the room and stuff. And I've read that they're so strong, they've thrown refrigerators at people, like a 300, 400-pound refrigerator just across the room and hit somebody, furniture. And we'll talk about exorcism, because I learned a lot about that. They take all the furniture. It's not like what you saw in the movie. The person's in the bed. There might be a nightstand. They take the rug. They take everything, because they'll ignite the rug on fire. They'll knock the books. Everything will go flying. They find a room, or they remove everything
Right,
from a room.
right.
But that all falls under the demonic. Personality change. That happens both under alien abduction and demonic. You start to become this other person because you're possessed and you're predisposed.
Influenced.
Influenced is the word, yeah. You start hearing voices of dead relatives. That's under demonic. You get telepathic sounds or images. That can happen under both, where they put these thoughts in your head. And we've said this before, 3 people, one looks up, sees the UFO, the other 2 say, I don't see anything.
Right, right.
That UFO's not there, it's in your mind. You know, and I've had this happen
That's
in my house. Loud noises that the dog reacted to, loud noises, he walked right past it, and I said, how does he not hear that? They're both able to put these telepathic sounds in your head. Unable to wake someone from sleep, that's demonic. An evil obscene presence in your mind, evil thoughts, you know, whether it could be murder, pornography, whatever, evil thoughts that are just in your head, that's demonic. Unconfessed sins of others blurted out, like during an exorcism. You're being exorcised, you know the things that we've done, and you say it. That's demonic.
Yeah.
Well, he is the accuser.
Yeah.
The devil is the accuser of the brethren, and he will continue to accuse you until you die. But if you're saved and in the hands of the Lord, Jesus stands as an advocate for us. So.
Well, they do that on exorcisms to shake you up, to show how more powerful they are.
And he torments you.
Yeah.
He will torment you until the very end, when he will be thrown into the lake of fire.
Because once you
In
realize
Revelations.
he knows these things you've done, you realize he's got power.
And we'll be glad to get rid of him,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
Good
right.
Lord.
Yeah, go, please. We've had enough of them.
Here's one that happens often in demonic and UFO, is a loss of faith in the church or not attending the church, very often also after a divorce. And you'll see that in UFO cases and demonic cases. You pull away from your faith, you know, and you
In
pull
UFO
away.
cases?
Well, with abductions, a lot of the abduction cases, how could God allow this to happen? And you get pulled away from your faith. Some people will automatically jump right back out of fear to their faith and stop it. Others, it's a slowly,
Right.
over years. But I read that on both. Having car or electrical device problems, cars stalling, etc., happens in both UFO cases and paranormal. Out-of-body experiences or being levitated off the ground. That's both demonic and UFO. Some sort of a sexual contact, pregnancy, the presence of a hybrid happens in both. Happens in the demonic case and the alien abduction. A being like the incubus, a gargoyle, or a reptilian that you see. That's both, happens in both UFO and demonic. Hive mentality, again, both. When you read cases about demonic possession, they always question the person and who is the spirit in you, who's the demon, and they'll give a name, they want the name, because they actually have a whole list of names and what levels they are. And but the one thing they always say is, we are legion, we are one.
Right.
It's almost as though Satan knows everything they're doing, right? But then you get the same thing with UFO cases, especially when you talk about the insectoids and some of these other beings. They have this hive mentality, and David Jacobs says it too, even with the hybrids that he calls hybrids now, because they're mostly human, they're still connected like a hive. So, you know, in my mind, when people start talking about one world, one race, one government, one military, I don't want to be one of anything. I want to be an individual. I don't want to be part of anything, that we're all one. Because one, to me, it falls right into what you see with alien abductions and demonic possession. One big guy in charge, and the rest of us are
But, you know,
workers.
what's interesting, you're saying the hive. What was that one show they had on, the UFO show? The guy worked for Congress, and then he was fighting Blue Book. I don't know the name, but they talked about the hive. This was back in the 70s.
Yeah, well, I
That's what
think
they called
Major
it, the hive.
Kehoe and them and them brought it up too. There's a hive mentality. That's why I say, people, you know, when they start wishing for things, disclosure, you know, one world, one race, one religion. Wait a second, I don't want to be one of nothing. You know, and the last thing, which is to me the most important, is being able to repel this being or entity through the use of the name of Jesus Christ.
Right.
That happens in demonic, obviously, with exorcism, and UFO cases. And here's the proof. Your buddy, Joe Jordan, wrote this book, Unholy Communion, the alien abduction phenomenon, where it originates and how to stop it. And he identified 400 alien UFO cases that were repelled, abductions repelled by saying Jesus Christ. Why do they fly here from light years to attack Christianity and are afraid of Jesus Christ if they're alien? It doesn't make sense.
If they flew here.
If they flew here.
I mean,
and I don't think they do.
They're here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're here under another.
Here's your buddy's book to take a look at. We'll talk about that and maybe get Joe on the show on Skype, because he was down in Florida last I knew of him.
That's where he lives at.
Yeah.
Merritt Island.
All right, so now that's just one slide, and that took us more than one whole episode to go through. Now what I did was I put together the hierarchy of angels and demons, right? And this is something I always used to wonder, because you'll see a show and the person's possessed, and yet it'll be a mild possession, and then there are others that are major possessions, exorcism after exorcism, and most exorcisms don't work the first time.
Right.
But it's a more powerful, and I would always say, how can it be a more powerful demon? Well, they have the same hierarchy that the angels have. And I never even knew this. Like they'd say archangels, and I used to say, what is an archangel? You know, but the archangel is there's angel, archangel. There's 7 more layers above that. I never knew any of this. It's amazing what I learned.
Like you say, but when somebody comes possessed, they could be a weakling. But when they're possessed, they got power beyond those of mortal men.
Well, that's
I mean,
something.
that's another.
That's
thing
one
with
of the things that happens
right.
too. That's why they tied them down.
Yeah.
Remember in the Exorcist movies, they tied a person down. These people, when a demon is in them, and it just think about it. We're human. We're level 10.
Right.
And those other 9 levels are all more powerful than us physically, mentally. They've been alive forever. They may not be able to read your mind or know the future, but if you lived 6,000 years, you're pretty smart on anticipating what's going to happen, and if I do this, you will do that. You know, it's a game that they play. But here's the thing that I learned. There's 9 levels, so there's 3 groups of angels, and the same thing with demons. Your top 3, the most powerful, are the seraphim, which was what Lucifer was. He was in the top number 1 group. Those are the light beings, the pure light. They're the most beautiful and most powerful angels. Next is the cherubim, which is the guardians of the gates of heaven. And then you have thrones, maybe Game of Thrones. They carry out God's orders. Those are the 3 most powerful, right? Then you have another group of the middle 3, dominions, virtues, and powers. Dominions regulate angels, virtues perform miracles, and powers combat the fallen angels. So level 6 is the one really fighting the fallen angels, right? So that's the middle group. Then your last 3, principalities, archangels, which everybody knows, you know, Michael and Raphael, they're number 8 on the hierarchy. And then your angels. Principalities guard against evil. Archangels command God's army in the battle, and angels are human guardians. There are guardian angels, right? The only problem is the fallen angels have the same hierarchy, something I never understood. When the battle took place, 1/3 of the angels became fallen angels and demonic entities, these interdimensional malevolent entities. They do the same thing. So that top level of seraphim, cherubim, thrones, those are devils. Get this. When people said the devil, I thought they were talking about Satan. No. Any of those 3 levels, the first 3, are devils. You could have multiple devils. I never knew that. That's the seraphim, which Lucifer was, the cherubim, and the thrones, right? But they supervise everything pretty much. They're the managers. They send them out to cause havoc. Then you have a middle section who are demons. They're not devils. Devils are super powerful. Demons are in the middle, right? And these are basically, they're the workers. Dominions, virtues, and powers. They're the middle ones. When you get possessed, you're most likely being possessed by those 3, or maybe even the next level of the principalities, right? The bottom 3, the principalities, who was, and then the archangels and your guardian angels, those are the workers. They're the worker demons. What they do, they're the ones that show up at the house, at the footsteps, the banging, the scratching. They cause the infestation, which is really sleep deprivation. They'll keep you up all night. You'll see the shadow people, the banging, the noises, the scratching. They do this for days and days and weeks.
Tormenting you,
Yes,
basically.
that's exactly what they do. And then even the infestation where they start attacking the rest of your family and things start flying and all of that. That's the bottom couple of layers of fallen angel. But when you get possessed, you're more in that middle of the pack, the more powerful. After the workers wear you down, the more powerful one shows up and enters you. And that's something you can never allow to happen. Right. You have to really mentally fight that tremendously. So now, I now, in my life, I understand why some possessions are stronger than others. There are different levels. I never knew demons, devils. You know, there are tons of devils, not just one devil. So I never knew any of this stuff, and it's so interesting. Then there's different types of events that take place, right? You have natural. A natural event is something that follows the laws of nature and science. Right. Science can explain it. It's natural, right? Here's a word I had never heard in my life. Preternatural. Preternatural, preternatural. I think it's P-R-E-T-E-R, natural. Preternatural. Never heard that word. It's the word that should be used for everything that's negative and unexplained. Preternatural is unnatural acts like being able to levitate a bed or a table or a person, transforming something into something else, conjuring up an entity. Those are negative, preternatural events. I never heard.
Objects moving.
Yes, I never knew any of that.
We had when I worked in a prison down in Florida, we had a kid that practiced Satanism. He killed his grandmother.
Yeah.
And cut her heart out and whatever. But he was in a cell, you know, we had the door locked and all of that. And he would tell us, Satan's coming. And when he said that, a little bit later, you could just hear wind coming into that cell.
I'm telling you, it's real,
I mean,
Fred.
you know, we never opened the cell door. We heard the wind of that. But I mean, you could actually hear the wind. It was like coming into there.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell us straight out, you know. And as soon as he said that, about 10 minutes later, we hear the wind coming in.
I mean, I was standing in my doorway, and I don't want to get into this now, but I felt that chill that you talked about, and an actual breeze hit me of cold air. Yeah. You know, this stuff is absolutely real. So the word that should be used when you talk about ghosts and ghouls and goblins and demons and devil is preternatural. Right. That was a preternatural event. Then paranormal is anything that science can't explain, which is everything in this field because they refuse to explain it. So UFOs, everything should be considered paranormal because science has not explained it, and I don't think they want to explain it. Now here's another confusion.
Well, they can't measure it either.
Right, and they can't recreate it.
Yeah,
we don't have the
science
power
is
to.
empirical, and you can measure things with science. However, with the paranormal, you cannot measure it.
Yeah.
But it exists.
Yep. And the word that everybody uses is supernatural, right? There's a TV show on supernatural. Right. So if you see a ghost, you say, wow, that was supernatural. No. Supernatural only pertains to miracles and good acts of miracles by God, Jesus, and angels. Supernatural means the good stuff. Preternatural is the bad stuff. I'm 59 years old. I never knew any of this. Never knew any of this. Never heard it in church. Never heard it. Never read it until just recently that I sorted out. Those are the different types of events that take place. So I don't want to get into my stuff now. We're going to do that in the next episode. But I want to tell you about some things that happened. You know, well, let's start with this here. This is just more information on this topic. Exorcism, the rite of exorcism, was authorized by the church in 1614. It was performed by Jesus 2,000 years ago, but the church authorized it in 1614. Here's an interesting thing. Prior to the 1990s, exorcism was rare, right? There was only about 3, 4, 5 a year. There are over, I read now, 1,300 exorcisms a year since 1990. Wow. Prior to 1990, no. Think about cattle mutilations, when? 1975-ish. weird ritualistic cattle mutilations, right? The black helicopters, that started in the 70s.
Right.
And a lot of this stuff, and I think there's a progression, and I don't think this stuff is actually UFO. I think some of this falls into this demonic side, but you could see the progression. The St. Michael prayer, which is hugely important, right? To drive these things out, was eliminated from Mass in 1968 at Vatican II. They eliminated because they thought it was scaring people.
Well, I recommend that our viewers learn that St. Michael prayer. I used to teach it
Absolutely.
to my students.
Well,
Yeah, when I taught Catholic school. So you should know that by heart.
I agree. I agree
In the
with you.
event something happens.
Yeah. The peak of demonic activity is around Christmas, around Easter, but the peak month is November. Who would have known? It's from Halloween to Christmas.
I had a
with
bad
November.
experience just this past Halloween.
Yeah. And my son said to me, Dad, do you realize half of all the things that's ever happened to us, me, has been Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving night, about half of all of our preternatural things happened.
Right.
So what happened to you at Halloween?
Well, I was resting, and I had a horrible feeling as if evil was about to come into the house, coming in from the upstairs. I'm downstairs, and immediately in my thoughts, I immediately started getting rid of it by quoting scriptures. It took quite a while, but eventually it did leave, and I remember saying, just because it's Halloween doesn't mean you get to come into my house. So get out right now.
And think about how
And
they
it
look.
left.
Think about how they look forward to
Right.
Halloween. These spirits. I mean, it's amazing. They have intelligence more than us.
we got
Right.
All Souls Day too there.
Yeah, that's
That's when it happened.
Is that the day after November 1st?
Right.
The Day of the Dead in Mexico,
Exactly
November
when it
1st.
happened.
But it's really November that's the peak. So really from January through well, it comes up again at Easter, but you'd figure from April through October, very little activity with the demonic. They mock things in the threes. They do things in the threes to mock the Holy Trinity and Jesus' death at 3 p.m. So they appear at 3 a.m. Lucifer was a seraphim. I already said that. There's 9 different levels. Infestation is the first thing that happens. These are the noises to break down your will, sleep deprivation. It leads to oppression, which they do through really sleep deprivation. It's a mental and physical attacks on you to just break your will down, because it's like having the invisible man or person in your house. You can't see it, and boom, it's attacking you. It won't let you sleep because they know we have to have at least
Sleep.
6, 7, 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
I need 8.
And you can't function without it.
If you're getting 2 hours sleep a night, they're breaking you down. They are better than the CIA with waterboarding. They know exactly what to do. I mean, the intelligence behind this is amazing. And what happens that after this goes on with the noises, the sleep deprivation, the attacks, and they go after other family members, then that next level of demonic entity steps in, and you have demonic possession, where the actual spirit of this thing goes inside you. Your spirit and soul gets repressed, and this thing takes over. So you have a split personality. You're in there trying to do something, but this thing's 5 times stronger than you. It's amazing how I understand this now and what actually happens with this. And you think about the alien abduction, very, very similar,
We have to make sure not to let these things into your home or into your life. For example, don't play with the Ouija board. Don't watch ghost stories on TV or the paranormal. Don't participate in anything that's demonic. Don't participate in any sins. None of us are perfect, but I mean, if you willfully do that, you let in the demons into your life. So you have to always be on guard, believe it or not.
But don't you think a lot of the problems today is a lot of people want to practice, okay, we talk about white witchcraft, black witchcraft, whatever. White witchcraft can turn into gray witchcraft, can turn into
black.
That's bad.
magic over here.
You shouldn't be participating in any of that.
I had a girl one time, I'm sitting in a bar.
Tarot cards.
Yeah, I'm sitting in a bar and she's telling another girl and her boyfriend she's going home tonight and burn a green candle.
No, you shouldn't be doing that.
So, I'm sitting there and I'm saying, really. So I asked her, I says, I shouldn't have said it like that. I said, what do you use as protection?
Yeah.
Well, she got very upset with me.
And what's the green candle for?
I explained it to her. And, and I said, you're wishing for $5,000. You would find it very odd tomorrow if your mother died and left a $5,000 policy. And she just looked at me. And I've heard, I think today you got a lot of people out there that think they're demonologists. I mean, they want to go in there and they're going to rid the house of this. They're going to rid the, and they go in and they don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean,
And then it attaches to them.
Yeah.
And you were right on. That's the invitation.
That's the invitation.
And I'll give you an example.
Then you can't get rid of them.
Yeah, what you just said, even watching some of these shows. And, I wanted to talk about this in the next episode, but here's an example. The new show comes on, Damien, right?
Yeah.
That's The Omen. He's now an adult.
Right. Yeah.
I put it on. I thought the noises in my house were gone. I put the show on, I'm watching it, and I'm watching it from my bedroom because I think it comes on at 10 p.m. All of a sudden I start bum, 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 banging, knocking, all of that because I put the show on. And here I was, I probably had 2 weeks of silence. There they are lurking. And as soon as I put that show on, it just shows the intelligence. They're always there waiting for an opening too.
But see, again,
but they saw that as an invitation.
Yeah, but see, again, why do they put shows on like that? Is there somebody within that organization?
Well, who's running things? Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying, John. I mean, you got to look at it. I mean.
I never used to believe any of this with the Illuminati.
Me neither.
I just figured they were bankers, the Bilderbergers. So you got to wonder with the Antichrist and how things will end up.
Yep.
And even with these abduction stuff that David Jacobs talks about, that the hybrids are created to really infiltrate politics and corporations.
I think they have already.
I agree with you. You see the pushback on Donald Trump because he's bucking the system of the money and the lobbyists and the way it's done in Washington. But what else is behind that we can't have this rich guy not following our rules?
Right.
So it's amazing. So you hit it right on the head as far as there's an invitation. There's an invitation.
Don't
as simple as playing tarot cards, Ouija boards,
fortune
watching
tellers,
shows,
going to the fortune teller.
all of that. Yep. And they say, this is my mistake, never provoke or communicate with the entity, right? Now, you know me. If you get in my face, I'm going to hit you with an uppercut.
And you should. They're the enemy, so you ought to hit them with an uppercut.
One of the things I did in 2014 is I challenged it. Show yourself. Shouldn't have done that. It did show itself, or it manifested 18 months later, way more powerful than what happened in June of 14.
I believe it.
I should have gone right to, here's my cross.
Yeah.
Jesus protects me. Get out of my house in the name of Jesus.
Even though you shouldn't invite them in by participating in those things, they will come in uninvited. For example, if you're reading your scriptures a lot, going to church a lot, going to Mass a lot, a Protestant or Catholic, they're going to torment you. So you have to constantly be battling their presences.
Now, let me give you an
And
example.
don't be nice.
You see a ghost or you hear voices, it's your relative, it's your father. You recognize the voice. You see it, right? They can do that. There's your invitation. I was talking to somebody recently. It was my mother. I saw her. She was asking for help, and I invited her in. They pretend to be the ghost of a dead relative,
Well,
right?
that's the same thing in abductions. You
Yeah.
have a lot of times you're abducted, and when you get there, your grandfather's standing there, or sister or brother standing there, your mother or father saying, it's okay, don't worry, I'm here to protect you.
Yeah. I mean, the overlap is unbelievable. They can take over. They can take over your body, but not your soul. Now, I've read different versions that they can take your soul. Others have said they can never take your soul, they could just possess your body.
Right.
Your soul does not belong to them and they can't take it. I'm not 100% sure about that. We're almost out of time, but here's something interesting. Mentally ill people will respond to medication, demonically possessed won't. Something to keep in mind with the people that are institutionalized. The demonic never forget or forgive. They always return more powerful. Once you've been marked, you're marked for life. And if you don't end this in this life, you face them in the next life. So we still haven't gotten really to where I believe a connection is to the UFOs. We're going to do that in the next episode, and probably, I think we could do it all in one more, which would give us a total of 5 episodes on the demonic and UFOs. So that's our show, and thanks for being on. That's our show for this week. Be sure to look for our next episode and visit www.mufonpa.com for more information. Well, here we are. We're back again. Welcome our guests back, Fred Sluger, Rhonda Vari, our viewers. We're going to try to get done, and this is the 3rd part of this Aliens and Demons, UFOs and Demons, not counting the 2 we did with Bob Cranmer about the Demon of Brownsville Road. So what I want to do is I want to talk about some things that happened to me. I want to talk about what people recently have told me in this area. It's amazing how they come out of the woodwork when somebody is willing to come forward and take the brunt of it, you know? And then we'll talk about how this relates to UFOs and some of my beliefs after 20 years of UFO research and 2 years of demonology. But I'm going to give you a quick overview, and like I said, you can, this is my presentation now at our next 3 conferences. I'm going to talk about this in Erie, Pittsburgh, and Philly. But we're drawn into this for a reason, right? And for me, my earliest experience, I was born in 1957, 1961. I'm not going to give you all the details. I was laying in bed, something grabbed my feet, okay? I was 4 years old. 1969, I'm 12 years old. I have an out-of-body experience. I'm floating above my neighborhood, happens 3-4 nights in a row. I see all the houses. Every night I go further and further out into the neighborhood. 1971, now I'm 14. I'm home. My family goes to the hospital to visit my grandmother. I'm reading in bed. It's probably 11 at night, and outside my door is a female voice in agony. Like agony. It was female, right? My family came home about an hour later. Everybody went to bed. We get a phone call probably 3-4 in the morning. My grandmother passed away. So there was a connection there. That was her soul leaving the body before it died. I'm pretty convinced.
Let me ask you a question real quick. When you said you did the out-of-body experience, do you remember coming back in?
No, I only remember going.
Okay.
I mean, I was young, I was 12, and it was like I couldn't wait for 9 o'clock to come. It was July. I couldn't wait to go to bed. What 12-year-olds can't wait to go to bed? Because for 3-4 nights in a row, I would go outside and almost like Superman, I'd pull my shoulders, my chest forward, and next thing I know, I'm flying above the neighborhood. I see the Whitley's house, Manetti, all my friends. I see their houses in Richmond Hill, Queens. And every night I went further and further, but I don't know where I ended up, and I don't know how I got back in bed.
You didn't try to stop it?
No, as a kid, I thought this was cool. I couldn't wait to fly again. I said, flying's cool.
I stopped those when they were happening to me because I didn't think they were so fun.
Do you remember going back into your body?
Oh, yes.
I mean, was it hard or was it soft landing, hard landing?
The furthest I got, and that was it for me because I was frightened, was to the top of my ceiling in the bedroom, turned around and looked at myself and said, I got to get back in, I got to get back in. There's things I have to do in life.
How old were you?
I was 18.
Okay.
And then here's what happened. I'm at the dormitory at Seton Hill College where I went for undergraduate, where I was philosophy major, theology minor. And almost every night, I could feel the vibration setting in, which was the precursor of my spirit separating from my body. So I would then I began sleeping on my side because it only happened when I was sleeping on my back. The vibrations would set in, and I know directly after the vibrations, then I would split from my body. So what I did was I prayed a lot so it would go away because I really wasn't excited about that happening, and then sleep on my side and ask Jesus for that not to happen to me anymore because I didn't want that to happen.
I thought it was the coolest thing, man. It was like I couldn't wait to fly again, and then it stopped.
Well, then what made you go back into your body? Did you say I got to get back in?
No. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I only remember the launch, seeing the neighborhood, and I don't remember what happened afterwards. Next morning I'd wake up, we'd do it again. So was that, that's what made me wonder, is this an abduction? Because I've read,
Right.
you can see as you're being brought up.
Like you have no
Is that
control
what,
over it.
or
A lot
did
of
your
people-
soul leave your body?
Yeah,
What
well, a lot
was
of people when they
this?
die,
Yeah,
it's the same
Right.
thing as an OBE.
yeah.
But most people say when they come back, it's like a.
I never had.
It's hard to get back
Yeah,
into your body.
I
It's like
never
a
had
crash,
any memory of coming back. 1973 now, I'm 16 years old, right? I had that lucid dream. I'm in the yard. I open up the storm door for the basement. It's a
Right.
tunnel, a cave. I go down about 3 levels, something's coming up, and it was evil. I
Right.
turn, I'm running in slow motion, it's behind me. It was breathing on me, and I said, if I turn and look, I got a feeling that it's over. Don't turn around. And I said, move your finger, because I knew I was dreaming. It was weird. It was a lucid dream. It was definitely a dream. I was able to move my hand. I woke up. I was drenched in sweat. My heart rate was probably 180 beats a minute. But it was definitely demonic, it was evil, and it was coming for me. And I was 16 years old. At the same time, my sister, who is 10 years old, has an Annabelle doll experience in her room. She won't tell me what it was, but I only recently found out about it this past year. She had one of those life-size dolls, 2.5, 3 feet tall. It moved, it talked, it walked, it did something. She will not discuss it. She actually went to see the movie Annabelle, and she had a panic attack because that happened to her. The same time I had this lucid dream with this
So,
demonic entity in
Obviously,
it.
these things happen to a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Sometimes they make movies out of it. Or sometimes we sit around and discuss it as we're doing now.
Yeah. The other thing that happened that may have no significance is I was working in Europe in 1988. I spent Thanksgiving in Germany. I wanted to get home for Christmas. I got done on December 20th. My flight was December 22nd. So I tried to change my flight to December 21st of 88. I was in London, and they wanted like $600 to change the plane ticket. I didn't take the flight. The next morning I take the flight. It was Pan Am 103 that blew up the day before, the flight I was trying to get on. Maybe that has, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But I know I got on that plane and everyone was talking about the flight, and I said, my God, I almost got on that flight. That would have been the end of me in 1988. 1989, I moved to Oklahoma from Long Island, right? So now there are the 3 footsteps 3 times and a voice in the hallway. This was a male. I thought it was an Indian chant. It went, ho, ho, loud like that, deep male
it
voice.
was Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I'm convinced that that's what that was.
And you have the Trail of Tears there.
Yeah. Great museum, too, the Cowboy Museum with that huge statue. Better than when I was in Rome looking at David. They made that statue. It's gigantic. It's huge. Then we moved to New Jersey in 1991. This house, I mean, the things my kids have told me, because they were in the house. I moved out because that's Oklahoma, my wife's entire personality changes. We talked about personality change. She becomes somebody else. I don't know who I'm dealing with here. I used to joke. I think she got possessed. I didn't know. She's somebody else. We separated. We got divorced. But in that house, when we were married, we no sooner move in. My father comes to visit. All the moving boxes in the garage are sliding around. You can hear them on the cement floor. They're sliding all over the place. My daughter and my girlfriend at the time tell me that they hear a rocking chair and a baby crying in the spare bedroom. My daughter told me the same thing because her bedroom was next door. There were shadows. People actually saw the shadows before I did, moving along the ceiling. I remember my sister and her family coming over. John, come downstairs. You got to see this dark shadow just moving across the ceiling. It happened on other occasions too. A kid standing at the foot of the bed, like a 10-year-old kid with the bowl cut haircut, blonde hair, overalls, and a plaid shirt. I said, I think this kid came with us from Oklahoma. Probably died there, and he came with the moving truck, in those boxes. My son, voices in the wall. He'd lay down at night. He never told me this. He's like, at that point, 12 years old, whatever. And he'd lay down at night. There'd be a voice in the wall that says, "I'm going to get you." Scared the crap out of him. He didn't tell me this stuff until recently. Same thing with my daughter. My son saw a creature, a hairy creature, walk down the hallway. And another occasion, after we sold the house, moved out and everything, my son and his friends went to show them the house. And he said all the lights in the house just went off at the same time, like somebody drew the main power. The entire house went dark when he pulled out front in his car. So in 1997, I moved to Pennsylvania. In 96, I started writing my first book, which was really a sci-fi novel on end-time prophecy. 1998, I joined MUFON. 99, I attend my first UFO symposium. I get home from the UFO conference, 4th of July. I didn't stay for the fireworks. I went home, and these lucid dreams start, like the one in the cave. And I have an out-of-body experience. Fred, you've been to my house. My green Grand Cherokee was in the driveway. I was this close to the peak. I remember saying to myself, "Oh, reach out and touch it." The peak of the house was right here, that close. I could have touched it. It's almost like I woke up for 2 seconds, saw everything, and then I was out and gone. But these dreams started. I had these dreams, I had my Dobermans. I've always had them. My dog's floating in the air, sideways, legs straight out. There's this kid. He looks like this kid with straggly hair, big eyes, big Popeye forearms. The bone is sticking out, weird looking, like a hybrid. And he's poking my dog. And I remember there's nothing, it's like a beige background. I can't see anything else in the room.
That would have been a demon.
Yeah. And I'm saying to him, "Stop poking my dog." And the kid just keeps poking him. He's like an 8, 10-year-old kid, keep poking the dog. I said, "Stop." But then I have the memory of another kid who looked like a rat boy. I mean, he looked like Nosferatu, the vampire. Skin pulled tight, buck teeth like a rat. Just weird. Those two kids. And then I'm saying hybrid, some sort of hybrid, alien abduction. Or, was it demonic? Hairy creature on the side of the bed. I was waking up every hour, hour and a half, swinging my fist. I actually hit the headboard, almost broke my wrist. And this went on for like the entire week. People at work were saying, "John, you look so tired." Was this an infestation, the sleep deprivation? I mean, this went on for like a week.
And too bad you didn't know what to do.
I had no
to
idea.
get rid of it.
I had no idea. The thing that happens with this, though, for me, is that an event, like you can tell by the time frames, nothing for 3, 4, 5 years, nothing for 3 years, nothing for 6 years, nothing from 16 to 32. So you don't think about it. You look for a scientific answer, a logical answer, and okay, it's a one-off. It happened once, don't happen again, except that one lasted 4 nights. Okay, so now I get to Thanksgiving of 2004, right? My girlfriend's living with me. She sleeps, she's with me. My kids are down the hallway. Always Thanksgiving because I got my kids for Thanksgiving, right? I hear somebody, it's midnight, we close the door. I hear somebody in the hallway outside my door, right? Get up in the morning, she goes to work because she worked a later shift. And here's the actual picture, and I'll show it to you in the presentation that we do. On the mirror is 2 arms like that, again, pressed against the glass. All you saw was the 2 bones. It wasn't flesh. 2 bones, 6 fingers. I measured it from finger to elbow was 3 inches longer than me. So I'm 6 feet tall. This thing has to be 7 feet tall. I could not lean over the bathroom counter, put my elbow in hand. It was just too far away. You had to be taller than me to be able to do it. I asked my son in the morning, "What were you doing outside our bedroom door?" And he said, "Dad, I heard you in the hallway outside my bedroom door around midnight." Something was in the hallway, right? So that's Thanksgiving of 2004, and I got physical evidence on that one. 07, my father passes away, but there's an event that night. I see a tunnel, a flash of light. I only see it in my left eye. I see the blackest black tunnel and the most brilliant electricity pouring out. I'm laying in bed. Somebody puts their hand on my arm like that. I believe it was my father as he was going to wherever you go. Nothing paranormal about that. But, well, I guess it is paranormal. You can't explain it, right? 2009, I'm laying in bed, 5 in the morning, right? I abruptly wake up. I look down the hallway, and you know my house. My bed sits, I can see right down the hallway to the attic stairs, finished attic. I wake up. There's a guy standing there. It wasn't a shadow man. It looked like the thing from District 9, that tall, lanky creature.
Yeah.
It had a waist of about 12 inches, long arms and legs, wasn't wearing anything. But the attic light was on in the stairway. I can only see the silhouette. He was frozen, like he was getting ready to go up the stairs. But he had like a square head. Like I had the impression he had a helmet. I'm telling you, Fred, I rub my eyes. I crawl to the foot of the bed. I'm 6 feet closer now, looking. I'm saying, what the hell is that? There's somebody standing there, and it ain't human, right?
Yeah.
My dog's sound asleep in the hallway. Not barking, sound asleep. Almost like I woke up and I wasn't supposed to wake up.
Right.
Like I woke up too soon. So, I said to myself, I can jump over the footboard and charge down the hall, keeping my eye on it, or step off, turn the light on, and then go. What do? I step off, turn the light on, come back, he's gone.
Yeah.
I wish I would have gone over the footboard straight at him. I would have charged him like a raging bull, But
when you got there, he probably wouldn't have been there.
yeah. Well, something would have happened if he was really materialized, but then the light is out up in the attic too. The light's out. So that light that enabled me to see him, it was out, right? So that's the 7-foot visitor that 5 years early in 2004 put those handprints on the mirror, because you would have had to be that height. He was taller than the door frame.
And so he would be known as the Slender Man.
Yeah, except a
You could
different
look that up
version.
online.
Yeah, a little different version. The Slender Man tends to be in a jacket and pants and dressed. This wasn't. If it had anything on it, it had to be a tight-fitting.
Wait a second, Joe. Now, you said the Slender Man. Say
The
what it
Slender
is.
Man.
Say what the Slender Man is so people understand. And what happened because of the Slender Man.
Well, he's been explaining who the Slender Man is.
Tell him, Fred,
So-
wasn't there an incident recently with a murder with this?
Yeah, they tried to kill a girl. Two little girls tried to kill another girl
Right.
because they was worshiping the Slender Man.
I see.
That was only about a year ago, right?
About 2 years ago.
2.
And they told these kids to do it. They stabbed her. They thought she was dead and she
Right.
crawled.
Oh, my God.
She didn't die.
Unbelievable.
So one was 12 and one was 13.
So they were having a relationship with the
the
Slender
Slender
Man,
Man, right.
who's telling them to do evil things.
Right.
Unbelievable, Fred. So now it's that's 2009. Now it's 2010. I want to get through this quick. There's so much detail that I can't say though. It's April 24th of 2010. My daughter is over. We go to the Juvenile Diabetes Gala here in Pittsburgh, right at the Point. We get home. We go to bed. It's about midnight. Really quick, my daughter gets up, gets a bottle of water. Something is behind her, breathing on her shoulder. Same that thing happened to me in my dream. She goes upstairs, lays down. Shadow people in the room, shadow man. She's frozen, can't move. 2 shadow people, shadows moving around the ceiling. They each go into her. Very painful. They go into her. She hears voices in her head that say, when you're done with her, I want to try out the other 2. My son and his fiance in the next room. She wouldn't have made that up. Not that wording. Right? So she has, again, these shadow creatures, some sort of possession, right? All demonic. Now, Thanksgiving 2013, always Thanksgiving half the time. I have the home theater, the projector's on the ceiling, the screen's down, about to put a DVD in. Actually the Cowboy game's on. So I was talking to my son, something moves across the light of the projector on the ceiling. Now they say when you die, your soul is 21 grams, right? There was a movie about that. You weigh 21 grams lighter. Something moves in front of the projector from the ceiling like this, like a fish, like a snake. And my son says, what's that? I look up, you see, you can't see what it is. All you see is this light moving like this. Something was in the room and moved across the ceiling. And it's one of these minions, one of these spirits.
In the shape of a snake.
Yeah, in the shape of a snake. Probably about this long, And the stuff I've read, when they enter your body, through your mouth, through your head, they lodge in your head and down your spinal cords. Why you get those chills about this long. I saw one. I saw one of these things. Now, it's years later, it's 2014, June 6th. the 20th anniversary of my divorce. And it's no coincidence they show up that day, because I believe they caused the divorce. They came back to celebrate the 20th anniversary. All right, now I get the smells in the house of a rotting corpse, the banging on the wall, picture flips up, the Indian headdress in the TV room, the feathers blow to the side. My dog hears them. My dog sees it. Everything the bang, we both look. The dog looks. We go upstairs. It smells of death. That's what got me concerned, was the smell. It's one thing to hear footsteps, but now the smell is a different degree. And the banging, and the dog goes crazy, goes running up the attic after something. He saw something, you know? So then the neighbor then hears it outside, the banging. You came by in October, blessed the house, all the Jesus, the
did all the prayers.
Yeah,
the
St. Michael,
exorcism prayer,
everything.
St. Michael prayer,
About a month later,
holy water.
About a month later, my dog, that same reaction. He stands up, he runs to the front door, unbelievably barking and growling. I look, I have spotlights, they're not on. I go to the front door, you hear that bang outside. They couldn't get in because you blessed the house. You hear, boom! You know, the neighbor emails me, John, did you hear that last night at 10:30? The spirit couldn't get in, could not get in, you know?
Your neighbor heard it too?
Yeah, the neighbor heard it, and the dog heard it. So now you got, then you get to this past Thanksgiving, and I want to try to make this quick here. You get to this past Thanksgiving, I'm being poked, I get a stabbing pain, scratching in the wall, I'm in bed, and all of a sudden I'm enveloped in black. I look up, I'm totally in black. I did what you did with Jesus to protect me and get out. All of a sudden, you see this black veil go up.
Oh, it lifted.
I never saw anything like it. The light, moonlight came in, I saw the black veil just lifting, and I saw light coming into the room in the hallway. It was the most, to me, it was a miracle. It proved Jesus is real.
Right.
Because they left. They left when I said his name. It was just unbelievable. So more stuff happened. We really can't, you know, we run out of time. I want to tell you about some quick things that happened. I run into these people I know, all right? I said, you want me to speak again? I'm talking about demonology. They tell me what happened to them. They said, okay, we'll have you talk again. I run into another one of their friends. The friend says to me, oh, I hear you don't want to talk again to our group. I said, what? I said, I do want to talk. She goes, oh, no, we were told by that couple, you don't ever want to talk to our group again. I don't want to go into too many details because people could figure out who they were. The guy was possessed. I could see it in his face. They went and said the opposite, so I never go and talk to that group about demonology. Because they were already attached, possessed, whatever.
Right.
Weird. All right? You could have this. The guy in Portugal sends me this, right? 10-page write-up on alien abduction. I'm reading through it, and the bottom line is, then he starts talking about telepathic messages, banging, heavy breathing at 3 a.m., and I said to him, you realize you're describing demonic activity. Are you Catholic? And he says, yeah. That was not an alien abduction. That's a demonic episode. Here's another one, Fred. We get this report in MUFON in Delaware in August of 2011. A white hooded figure, a bright light in the southwest sky, same thing the Portugal guy saw, right? This woman, the son is downstairs in the den. He sees a white hooded creature floating in the air, tells the parents. The next night, the mother sees the same exact thing. They report it as a UFO encounter.
Let me tell you real quick here.
Yeah.
I was telling Danny coming down here. This morning, I got a phone call at 7 o'clock. A good friend of mine, a Bigfoot researcher. You know, we're talking about this now. For some reason, he got a sharp pain in his leg last night between 1:30 and 2.
I was getting poked.
Okay, and he said, I don't know why, Fred, I got up to get a glass of water. And I mean, his voice was quivering. He says, I went up to get a glass of water. He says, I poured the water and I looked out the window and a light came on. He got a light in his thing. And there was somebody standing by his car, all white. It looked like they had on a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
He said the head was totally round. And the thing, he couldn't see the face, but the thing stared at him, he says, for about maybe 15, 20 seconds. He said, I was looking at it. He said, I went to get my glasses. When I came back, it was gone. The lights went out. So again, I mean, it's odd we're talking about this, the white, this and that, and this was told to me this morning.
I mean, I got more examples, but so we got to sum this up because this episode's going to be over. I got more examples of different people, what they told me. But you get to what my belief is here. The first time a gray was ever described was in 1918. It was conjured up by Aleister Crowley and an occult Satan worshiper. You got the Collins Elite, which we talked about with Nick Redfern, the group, the branch of the CIA that investigated the paranormal, occult, and UFOs and concluded there are no UFOs. It's all happening interdimensionally by occult, demonic entities, fallen angels, right? You get Hitler. They never talk about Hitler's ties, his occult. Very rarely they talk about his occult background.
Well, you do see it now on
in some of the more
TV.
shows.
Quite a bit of
You
stuff,
watch the History
But do you
Channel.
ever hear them say
His involvement with the
he was
occult.
possessed by a demonic entity? That's what I think really happened. For him to do what he did to the Jewish people and everything else,
That's a lot.
you would have to be possessed. But they never take that extra step and say that. But he was involved with the Thule Society, the Vril Society. It was all occult
The
back
Vril
then.
Society.
With the women with the Vril, the men with the Thule Society, and it was all occult. Had to do with the people under the ground, that had crystals and powers.
But you also had UFOs.
Yeah, and then the UFOs are tied into it
Right,
under the Antarctica
Right.
and the crash in 1939 in the Black Forest and all of that. Then like I said, 50% of all the serial killers ever reported happened after 1950. Cattle mutilations after 1975. Exorcisms go from 600 to 1,300 a year after 1990.
Picking up.
It is absolutely picking up. I think that there is a crossover here, of this. I think there are UFOs. I think in my mind, that's become the minority, 20% of the cases. I think 80% of it is this interdimensional, malevolent entities, which are fallen angels. Some people that I've
And
read
they
say it's
know.
all that.
Getting into
Others
another-
say it's all the other things.
Another conversation real quick here. What's his name? 411 missing.
Yeah, David Paulides,
Yeah.
who's going to be one of our speakers.
Is it possible that these things is what's taking these people? I mean, you're walking up through a park and your kid's like 10 feet in front of you around the berry bush. You walk around, it's gone. The
How
kid's
does
no
the
longer
kid
there. How did
disappear?
they
He's
get him?
walking with you.
Yeah.
Think about
I
it.
mean, yeah,
We're going for a stroll. You turn around, one of your kids is gone.
yeah.
And a lot of times they're not missing, they found 10 miles away,
Yeah.
over a mountain with no trails,
Right.
there's the kid.
Just
How did he
standing-
get there?
Standing 500 feet up on a cliff.
Yeah, or up in a tree, up in a cliff, somewhere. How did the kid get there? He's 3
Right.
years old. It wasn't even possible to crawl that distance in the time frame, but that's where he is, miles away.
Maybe that's why Dave don't want to say anything.
Well, he'll say it at our conference because I'll bring it out, But I definitely think that we're dealing with two things here.
Right.
One is the alien who comes from space. The other is this fallen angel.
Right.
The whole Jesus, Satan's thing is real. These powers. I need to find out how powerful are the fallen angels, that top tier. What can they really do? We may find out that they can do all of the UFO activity, and it's all a trick, the great deception when disclosure
right.
happens. Right in line with the Bible and the Antichrist. Nobody wants to hear it, though, but I think that's the truth. And we're out of time, Fred. We're out of time. So it's over. It's over. So thanks for being the guest, and we will get back to UFOs maybe in the next episode if I don't want to talk a little bit more about this. But we'll get some of these guests.
I think we should.
This, I think, relates to everything. I really think so. But thanks, and that's our show. That's our show for this week. Be sure to look for our next episode and visit www.mufonpa.com for more information.